I have gone over the villains of Batwoman and the villains of Supergirl, so this is the start of my series of me talking about the villains of the Flash. Starting off is Reverse Flash, my personal all-time favorite Flash villain from the show, and probably my all-time favorite Arrowverse villain in general. Eobard Thawne's backstory of his whole jealousy of the Flash and then becoming the reverse of him is, in my opinion, an amazing idea. And I thought its execution was extremely well done, even if it's not really shown all too much. I mean, we get a couple flashbacks or flash forwards to it, but most of it is a story being told to us that is, in my opinion, done very well, that you can really picture what he's telling us in your head. Also, Eobard has some great one-liners and some great fight scenes. His whole thing with his with murdering Barry's mom also brings a lot of history between their relationship that Barry at first didn't even know about. In my opinion, it's very interesting to see that a character like Reverse Flash, for him to just simply exist, due to the fact that he's just so petty, so upset, angry, all of those things, just for Barry being Barry. Because Barry became the Flash, Reverse Flash hated that, and because of that, he murdered his mom. Every single thing that he's done to Barry hasn't really been done out of a way that he's like a mwahaha villain, but it's been done out of spite because he himself is upset and jealous over it. I just think that's very interesting and also very, very just realistic in the real world. There are a lot of people who are just absolutely jealous of people and want to see that person fail. And Reverse Flash takes it to another step and just tries to murder them constantly. Murders his mom, tries to murder Iris, tries to murder all of his friends. It's just, in my opinion, very interesting. It's also interesting that he has a also weird respect for him too, making him, in my opinion, pretty kind of interesting when it comes down to villains. I said the word interesting way too much. But the idea that he respects Barry but also hates him and is jealous of him is such a compelling idea because it works at both ends. It helps Eobard as a character and as a villain, but it also helps Barry as a hero that he has the villain's respect. Regardless, I think Eobard is an amazing villain and just an amazing character altogether. Next up is Zoom. I thought Zoom was also an amazing villain, which is unfortunate because he hasn't returned except before as Black Flash. Zoom, in my opinion, was a great villain to the point where the character really came across as kind of like the yin to Reverse Flash's yang. Because, similar to Reverse Flash, he was jealous of Barry, and he was also kind of respectful towards him in a way. However, unlike Reverse Flash, Zoom had a very different idea of how to get back at him. Reverse Flash's idea was far more intricate in trying to think of things of global and further ahead in the timeline. He thought out everything. While Zoom was more chaotic. He didn't think things through. He just wanted to create as much damage as possible. Which isn't an insult to the character at all. But even the characters themselves point out the flaws in Zoom's plan. Because he does make mistakes. And while Reverse Flash does make them too, they're more on the rare side. While Zoom isn't perfect, but in my opinion, that makes him a great villain, because he's not perfect. He thinks that he's this big bad, which he very much is, but he thinks that he can't be beaten, which makes him automatically capable of being beaten. Zoom's whole thing with Barry I thought was also amazing, and I loved the fact that Zoom came across so scary and so menacingly, but when he was out of his costume, he seemed a lot more friendly. But even though he was out of his costume, you're still scared of the guy. Like, he was still very scary. And I also loved this thing with Caitlyn, that he actually loved her. Or not necessarily loved her, but at least liked her. And that wasn't actually a fake out. He did actually care about her and didn't want to hurt her. Of course, he eventually tried to, but he did at least attempt to maybe make things over with her, which, in my opinion, makes him come across more human, that he actually is capable of love, even if he was a serial killer. Next is Savitar. This one's going to be kind of controversial because I don't mean to offend anybody, but I saw that Savitar twist miles away. Because I thought the twist of him being Barry from the future was so obvious. It wasn't really that much of a twist. And I think they thought it was going to be a bigger twist than they thought it was going to be due to the fact that the whole reveal came across as very just attempting to make everybody just so surprised, didn't really work for the viewers because it wasn't really that surprising that it was Barry. However, I thought he did look really cool in the suit, but his motivation, in my opinion, didn't really make much sense to me, and I did think he was a great character and a great villain, but I'm okay that he didn't come back, because I think between Zoom, Reverse Flash, and Savitar, Savitar kind of gets the short end of the stick. But at the beginning of the third season, he did have some great fight scenes with Barry, so I'll give him that. And I do think the character does look really cool, and I like his whole evil voice, because I thought that whole evil metallic voice thing was also really, really cool. Mirror Monarch. Personally, I really liked Eva when she was first introduced in Season 6. I thought she was a pretty interesting villain, and I thought her whole motivation made a lot of sense to me. Her power set was really interesting, and I liked the idea she was creating mirror duplicates. However, in Season 7, she kind of just fell flat on her face. With the whole idea of bringing politics randomly into her character just midway through was such an odd choice to me. It didn't really make much sense. Because what was her whole plan there? She wanted to duplicate Central City. Why did she get involved in politics? It just kind of came out of nowhere. Like, her plan, for the most part, made sense in Season 6, then randomly in Season 7, like, it turned a completely different corner. Going down a completely different path, where the character is now kind of like a Karen going around murdering people. Personally, though, I thought the actress did her best, and while I was getting annoyed with a lot of the characters being redeemed or talked down in Season 7, I think Eva being able to be talked down did at least come across as plausible. And the way it was done, I thought it was also plausible. Even if I think her going down just so easily was kind of anticlimactic, considering the fact that in Season 6 she seemed like such a big threat. Pied Piper. Personally, I think Pied Piper is a great hero and anti-villain, or anti-hero, or just villain. I thought the character really, really worked with the whole idea that he's going to be a criminal still, but seemed pretty friendly with Flash himself, and was aware who Flash is, yet doesn't plan on telling anyone his secret. I think it kind of shows his whole respect for Barry, yet shows that he's not necessarily a bad guy, he's just a criminal and a robber, because he's not killing anybody, he's just stealing stuff. Which, yes, is wrong, but it's definitely not as wrong as some of the other characters who have gone, quote-unquote, redeemed after what they've done. Abracadabra was an all-out serial killer, and Barry was labeling him as a hero. Sorry, I was a bit salty about that. I probably shouldn't be talking about that when I'm talking about Pied Piper. Hartley, in my opinion, was a great villain. However, I am a little confused at why Barry took so long to realize that Hartley and Roderick were together. I thought it was pretty obvious. Maybe Barry's gaydar's off. But, while yes, I would admit I don't think everybody just immediately presumes everyone's in a relationship, I feel like Barry should have probably figured it out, considering the fact that Hartley cared so much about Roderick getting hurt. Also, Barry's well aware that Hartley is gay, and not only that, this isn't the 90s. I would understand perhaps that being a big shock and awe for someone that was a superhero in the 90s, but you're in the present day. I feel like that's not really a huge surprise if Hartley is in a relationship with his number one henchman or number one minion. Regardless, I still like their relationship, and I also really like Hartley and Barry's friendship, which is, like I said, pretty interesting that they respect one another despite the fact that they're actually enemies. Hazard. Hazard is, in my opinion, a very good villain and a very good anti-hero. And I also love the fact that she was so relatable when it comes down to if you really got these powers in real life. Because if someone really got these powers in real life, of course they would go gambling. Because, of course they would. She wasn't an outright villain, but I thought it was funny that she was using her powers in such a relatable way that I feel like really anybody can really just think that they would do themselves. Because if you got luck powers, yeah, you're clearly going to go gambling because you know you're going to win money. However, she did rob a bank, which was certainly crossing the line, which Team Flash even pointed out to her. But she did eventually get redeemed, only to be killed off by the Thinker, which was unfortunate in my opinion. However, she is returning next season of The Flash, so that's pretty interesting to the fact that she's actually dead. So I'm guessing post-crisis she's alive again. And the final villain for today is Top. Personally, I think Top is an okay villain, but I'm not sure why she keeps being brought back. Again, in the comics, she is a pretty big villain. That is when she's actually a guy. And I'm okay with generating the character, but Top in the comics has never really been that big of a character. So I'm a little confused why they keep bringing her back on the show. As they also attempt to kind of redeem her, but I just don't buy her redemption at all. Like, at all. I don't understand why they would ever trust her, or even attempt to trust her when they needed her help to find Despero. Because she literally helped murder her quote-unquote love of her life. The person she actually loved, she helped murder her. I don't think she really has that much sympathy. I think she generally would kill anybody. And honestly, I'm pretty sure she has tried. She's tried to kill Cecile. She's tried to kill Barry. She's tried to kill Jesse. I just don't get why they would even try to trust her at all. Villain-wise, I don't also understand her motivation. I think she'd make a very good Freak of the Week type villain, which she has before, but trying to give her an arc or trying to give her something that is more than a Freak of a Week type character idea doesn't really work because she's just a criminal. Because her whole motivation is that she just likes money. Which, I mean, yeah, there are people in real life who just like money. I mean, I think everyone really likes money, but she likes a lot more and wants to steal it. I just don't understand why she's being brought in again and again and again when she's not really much of a character except for wanting money. Although, yet again, that could make her an easy villain to come back and just try to rework into whatever story they want, which I guess makes sense when you think about it. And that's it. Like always, please like, subscribe, and see you guys next time. Bye.